These days, it's not a surprise that financial stress is running higher than ever. With all the tariff talks, continued inflation, volatile markets, and constant talk of economic uncertainty, it can feel like no matter how hard you try, your finances, and more importantly, your peace of mind are under constant pressure. Well, no worries, my friend. If you're feeling overwhelmed, you're not alone. That's why in this video, I want to share with you 12 simple science-backed habits that can help you detox financial stress and bring more clarity, calm, and confidence in both your wallet and your life. And hi, if you're new to China, my name is Tay from Financial Tortoise, where we learn to grow our wealth slow and steady. Alright, let's talk about the first habit to calm our mind and our wallet. Practice financial news fast. If you tune into any financial media platform, you're bombarded with breaking news about everything. The economy, the stock market, inflation, and political turmoil. You're faced with endless headlines like recession looms as market tumble or dollar collapse imminent. While on surface, reading and consuming this content may feel like you're staying informed, but in reality, it often just fuels anxiety. Unnecessary anxiety. Research from the American Psychological Association shows that repeated exposure to negative news can heighten stress response, trigger anxiety, and even distort our perception of personal risk. The truth is, most day-to-day financial headlines don't meaningfully impact your long-term financial health, but they do mess with your emotions. That's why one of the best habits you can build is to practice financial news fast. If possible, I recommend even a general news fast. Limit yourself to checking the news only once a week, or better yet, only when you have a specific action you need to take. Instead of doom scrolling through every market dip via these news platforms, direct your focus towards educational content that builds real knowledge and resilience, like well-researched personal finance books or long-form articles. And if you want something less intense, boring YouTube channels like yours truly works as well. You not only get useful personal finance and investing information, but you also get to admire my amazing hair while doing so. Bottom line, understand that financial media is designed to incite a strong emotion, not to make you wealthy. The biggest risk is not what's happening in the market, it's how you react to it. Alright, but what is another media platform that we have to be also careful of, if not more? Let's get into that next to help manage our financial stress. Number 2 habit to calm our mind and our wallet. Curate your social media to reduce financial FOMO. One of the biggest drivers of financial stress today is not just the news, it's social media. Research published in Computers and Human Behavior found that higher levels of social media use are associated with increased feelings of envy and decreased financial satisfaction. And other studies have validated the fact that social media is now considered one of the top contributors to chronic stress among young adults, often exacerbating feelings of inadequacy, anxiety, and financial pressure. But to be honest, we don't need studies and research to validate this fact. When you see endless posts of someone's luxury vacation, their new Tesla, or their latest 6-figure investment win, it's easy to feel like you're falling behind, even when you're actually doing just fine. The problem is most of what we see on social media is curated highlighted reels, not reality. Nobody posts about credit card debt funding their lifestyle, or the panic attacks behind those fancy crypto gains. That's why one of the best gifts you can give to yourself is to curate your social media feed intentionally. Unfollow or mute accounts that trigger comparison and FOMO, the fear of missing out. In the financial journey, there is no first or second place. You're a winner if you stay consistent, stay patient, and stay true to your values. Wealth is not a race. It's a slow, steady march towards freedom and peace of mind. The number 3 habit to calm our mind and our wallet. Declutter one financial space. It's been proven that physical clutter is strongly associated with higher levels of stress. When our environment is cluttered, it subtly signals chaos to our brain, increasing feelings of stress and overwhelm. And the same holds true for financial clutter. So if we want to reduce stress and anxiety, one of the lowest hanging fruit is to declutter our physical as well as our financial space. However, to try to overhaul everything is overwhelming and can actually add to our stress rather than reducing it. So instead of trying to overhaul your entire financial life all at once, just focus on decluttering one financial space. Maybe it's consolidating old Roth IRA accounts into a single platform. Maybe it's closing a credit card you no longer use. Or maybe it's something as simple as deleting one shopping app from your phone that tempts you to spend unnecessarily. Decluttering even one small area restores a sense of control, clarity, and calm. And remember, you don't have to do it all at once. One small decluttered space today makes room for a clearer, calmer financial tomorrow. Tidying is the act of confronting yourself. But if you want to maximize stress relief, it shouldn't just end with the act of declutter. Let's take it a step further with some celebration. However, before we get there, I want to share something very exciting with you. A special project that I've been working on for the past year. Introducing the Financial Tortoise Community. Your ultimate roadmap to mastering your money, systematizing your finances, and securing your family's financial future. I created this community because I know firsthand how overwhelming personal finance and investing can be. In today's fast-paced world, you're bombarded with so much information when it comes to money. Get-rich-quick schemes, conflicting financial advice, and confusing investment strategies that make it harder, not easier, to know what actually works for building real wealth. That is where the Financial Tortoise community is different. Inside the community, you'll get a clear structured path to building lasting wealth, built around simplifying, systematizing, and streamlining your finances for the long term. No unnecessary complexity, no hype. Just proven practical strategies that work. Plus, as a member, you'll have access to something truly special. One-on-one time with me. Direct personal support where you can ask your most important financial questions, get a personalized financial plan, and have the confidence that you're moving in the right direction. Whether you're confused about how to allocate your investments, overwhelmed by all the financial advice out there, or just want clarity on your next steps, I'll be there to guide you every step of the way. But that is just icing on the cake. On top of the one-on-one time with me, you get so much more when you join. Member-exclusive courses, step-by-step video lessons on developing the right money mindset, demystifying investing, automating your investments, minimizing taxes, and more. These courses are designed specifically for slow, steady, long-term wealth builders like yourself. Monthly live Q&A calls, live group coaching sessions where we dive deep into key financial topics, answer your questions, and help you stay on track towards your goals. Private community forum. Connect with other like-minded, hardworking professionals. Share your wins, ask questions, and build a relationship with people who are on the same slow and steady journey as you. Tools, templates, and resources. Access ready-to-use financial tools, templates, and resources built to simplify your decision-making and make managing your money easier. And access to all updates. Get immediate access to all new training, tools, and features as soon as they're released, with no extra charge or hidden fees. Every update is included as part of your membership. The Financial Tortoise community isn't just another program. It's a place to transform your financial future with intentionality and simplicity. Many have completely transformed their financial lives, and you can too. With the right guidance, a clear plan, and consistent action, lasting financial freedom is within your reach. You deserve it. But a quick heads up. To ensure that every member receives the best experience possible, I only open enrollment a few times a year. So if you want to be the first to know when the doors open again, make sure to join the waitlist today. Just head over to financialtortoise.com/community or click the link in the description below. And as a bonus for joining the waitlist today, you'll receive a free special gift delivered straight to your inbox automatically just for signing up. I would love to see you inside. Alright, with that said, let's get back to the video. The number 4 habit to calm our minds and our wallet. Celebrate a small win every day. Growing up, most of us instinctively sought and received celebration. A gold star for a good grade. A trophy for participating. A hug for a job well done. And whether we realize it or not, those small celebrations taught our brains that progress is worth recognizing because they're a huge motivation booster. They create a positive feedback loop, encouraging us to keep going, keep improving, and keep showing up even when things feel slow or hard. But as adults, we often forget how powerful this simple act can be. Well, I say let's bring it back. Let's celebrate small wins again, like closing an old account, transferring $20 to savings, or even resisting an impulse buy. They may seem small on paper, but they remind us that we're moving forward, and that sense of movement keeps us motivated. So after you declutter your financial space, take a moment to high-five yourself, text a friend, or even just whisper a nice job to yourself. It may seem silly at first, but these little moments of recognition are fuel for the long journey ahead. The number 5 habit to calm our minds and our wallet. Alright, let's get tactical with this one. Track your finances. For many of you, this may be the hardest task of everything we cover in this video, but we can't ignore it. Most often, stress arises not from the fact that we're doing something horribly, but rather because we don't feel like we have a good grasp of what is going on. We don't know how much we're spending every month. We don't know how much we owe on our student loans. We don't know how much we have in our 401k. And this feeling of uncertainty is where a lot of anxiety lives. Because in the absence of information, our minds tend to assume the worst. We imagine the debt to be higher, the savings lower, the situation worse than it actually is. But when you track your finances, even roughly, you bring light into that dark room. You start to see clearly, and don't think that you have to be perfect here. Even if you can't track every dollar, every penny, that is okay. As long as you're making an effort to check your spending, understand your account balance, and track your net worth, that in itself will help dramatically reduce financial stress. Remember, clarity is calming, awareness is empowering. Awareness is the greatest agent for change. Number 6 habit to calm our minds and our wallet. Alright, another tactical exercise. Set a 15-minute weekly money check-in meeting. Now, once you've done all the hard work of tracking your finances, you don't want to just put it away and not look at it for another year. The stress will just pile up again. Well, how to ensure that you create a rhythm to manage not only your money well, but your stress? The answer is simple. Stay connected through small, consistent check-ins. Stress often builds up, not because something catastrophic happens, but because of little unknowns. A missed bill, an unexpected charge, all quietly accumulating in the background. A weekly money check-in acts like a pressure release valve. It's a proactive way to stay ahead of your finances, keeping small problems from turning into big ones. And the best part? This doesn't need to be a long or complicated process. You can do it alone, a quiet 15 minutes with yourself and a cup of coffee, or if you share finances with a partner, it's even better to do it together, focusing on teamwork, not blame. During this check-in, simply review how much money came in and how much went out. Look ahead for any upcoming bills or expenses, and reflect briefly. Are you still aligned with your goals? And that is it. The goal is not to micromanage every penny. It is to stay calmly connected to your financial life, week by week, step by step. Number 7 habit to calm our minds and our wallet. Create a bare-bone budget. Earlier, when we talked about tracking your finances, we touched on one of the biggest drivers of financial stress, the fear of the unknown. When you don't have clarity around your numbers, your mind tends to assume the worst. And the same applies when it comes to preparing for financial emergencies. One of the best ways to calm that fear is to create a bare-bone budget. A simple plan that shows exactly how much money you would need to survive each month if everything else was stripped away. And think essentials only. Housing, utilities, basic groceries, insurance, transportation. The reason you want to do this is that knowing your bare-bone budget number gives you a deep sense of control. It takes your unknown and makes it known. You'll come to realize that even if life throws you a curveball, you have a plan and a roadmap to follow. And when it comes to building this budget, my favorite method is the simplest one, just using a basic spreadsheet. In fact, if you don't already have one, I'll share with you a free budget template. Just check out the link in the description below. Number 8 habit to calm our minds and our wallet. Detach self-worth from net worth. So far, we talked about a lot of tactical financial habits to help us gain more control of our money and, by extension, hopefully lower our stress. However, we also want to be careful not to go overboard, because too much money activity can also create more stress. By overly tracking our expenses and obsessing over our budget, we could start to allow our net worth to become our self-worth. And this would add more stress to our lives, not less. And that is not the goal here. Remember that despite how I believe mastering your money is important, your financial situation, your financial net worth is just one piece of your life, not the definition of your identity. Your worth as a human being is not measured by your bank balance, investment accounts, or your 401k statements. Money is a tool, a very useful and powerful tool, but it's not and should not be the measure of who you are. So work to detach your self-worth from your net worth, and you'll find that managing money becomes a lot less emotional and a lot more empowering. As Brené Brown wisely said, you're imperfect, you're wired for struggle, but you're worthy of love and belonging. But you're probably thinking, that sounds great and all, Tay, but easier said than done, right? Well, what is one habit that can help us do this better? Let's get into that next. Number 9 habit to calm our minds and our wallet. Focus on process, not outcome. When it comes to money, or really any goal, it's easy to become obsessed with outcomes. We fixate on reaching a certain net worth, achieving a specific investment portfolio, or paying off debt by a particular date. But the truth is that outcomes are often outside of our direct control. What we can control is the process, the small, consistent actions we take every day. James Clear, in his book Atomic Habits, reminds us that winners and losers often have the same goals. What separates them is their commitment to the process. So what we want to focus on is, instead of focusing solely on results, focusing on building strong financial systems, setting up automatic savings every month, dollar cost averaging into index funds, diversifying your investments across different asset classes, sticking to your spending plan even when temptation strikes. Because when you show up consistently for the process, the outcomes tend to take care of themselves over time, and that includes emotional peace. As Bill Walsh, the legendary NFL coach, famously said, the score takes care of itself. The number 10 habit to calm our minds and our wallet. Name it to tame it. When financial stress strikes, whether it's anxiety about bills, investments, or an expense, it often feels overwhelming because the emotions stay bottled up and undefined. But research shows that simply naming what you're feeling can significantly reduce its intensity. A UCLA study led by psychologist Matthew Lieberman found that when participants labeled their emotions, like saying, I feel anxious or I feel stressed, their brain showed reduced activity in the part of the brain responsible for fear and emotional reactivity. In other words, putting feelings into words helped calm their brain's alarm system. This technique, often called affect labeling in psychology, is simple but powerful. Instead of spiraling with vague financial dread, pause and identify the emotion. Is it fear, guilt, shame, frustration? Say it out loud or write it down. By naming the feeling, you're giving it structure. You create space between yourself and the emotion, which makes it easier to manage instead of being overwhelmed by it. Feelings are much like waves. We can't stop them from coming, but we can choose which ones to surf. Number 11 habit to calm our minds and our wallet. Reframe financial setbacks with self-compassion. Once you name the difficult emotion you're feeling around money, the next step is to respond to them with compassion, not criticism. Research by Dr. Kristen Neff, a pioneer in self-compassion studies, show that people who practice self-compassion have lower levels of anxiety and depression, and are far more resilient when facing personal failures. In fact, her research found that self-compassion is not about making excuses. It's about recognizing that setbacks are a natural part of growth, not a reflection of your worth. And when it comes to money, setbacks are a given. And I know this one too well because I went through so many setbacks in our financial journey. We set a budget to spend only $500 on groceries and eating out this month, yet at the end of the month, we spend $900. We say we're going to max out our Roth IRA this year, but I barely can fund my own bank account. We say we're only going to spend $2,000 during our family vacation to Mexico, only to realize after we return that we spent twice that. I know, it's tempting to beat yourself up after such incidents. We sure felt that way. But remember that shame and self-criticism only deepens financial stress. Instead, when you stumble, practice self-compassion. Acknowledge the mistake without judgment. Remind yourself that financial setbacks happen to everyone. Ask gently, what's one small thing I can do next? Treat yourself the way you would treat a close friend, with kindness, encouragement, and patience. Because remember, resilience isn't about never falling down. It's about getting back up. But I also say being kind to yourself in the process. Number 12 habit to calm our minds and our wallet. Practice gratitude exercise. If you want one habit that can shift your entire emotional state around money, this is it. Gratitude is the ultimate proven stress reducer, backed by years of research. A study published in the Personality and Individual Differences found that people who practice gratitude regularly report higher levels of well-being and lower levels of stress and depression. Simply put, it's hard for anxiety and gratitude to occupy the same mental space. When it comes to personal finance, it's very easy to slip into mindset of scarcity, focusing on what we don't have, what we haven't achieved yet, or how far we still have to go. Well, gratitude flips that script. It helps us to recognize the financial blessing we already have, no matter how small. The ability to pay bills on time, the security of a warm home, the small amount that is growing steadily in a Roth IRA account. Gratitude does not mean ignoring challenges. It means building emotional resilience by remembering that even amidst struggles, there is still good in your financial life, your life in general. A simple way to practice this is writing down 3 things you're grateful for at the end of each day, no matter how small they may seem. Over time, the small habit rewires your brain to focus more on abundance and less on fear. Gratitude unlocks the fullness of life. It turns what we have into enough and more. Thank you guys for watching The Line of Gratitude and Finding True Peace. I recommend you check out my video here on quiet wealth and why I believe it is the path to true wealth. Until next time, all the best.